Welcome to SVG-TV News for Friday, October 6, 2017. I am Rochelle Batiste with the details. The Bucament Bay Resort is expected to be reopened early next year. The announcement was made by Minister of Tourism, Sports and Culture, Cecil Mackey, in Parliament on Thursday. Mackey stated that the five-star resort is one which is of great importance to the tourism landscape of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and one which has proven itself capable of attracting visitors to these shores. Minister Mackey told Parliament that the resort's closure dealt a blow to the country's tourism sector. However, plans are being put in place to have it reopen by early 2018.
Having 80% occupancy for most of the year, and that was the case right up to its closure, unfortunately, in late 2016. Its closure has certainly impacted negatively on the sector, particularly from the UK, where their focus was concentrated. Mr. Speaker, it is also public knowledge that the facility is in the hands of the trustee in bankruptcy. As I understand it, the trustee has received various submissions of interest. This is an ongoing process, and the court will have to give approval to the entity which will eventually operate the facility. The government receives reports on an ongoing basis, and so is kept up to date at all times. We have been advised that the doors should be reopened and operations should commence early 2017.
Giving an update on the Montwin Peters Hope project, Minister Mackey said preparation work has been ongoing and highlighted what the finished product is expected to feature.
This work must be considered as a major part of the construction phase and was done under the watchful eyes of the various agencies and arms of government, as can be expected of this ULP administration. Currently, intense discussions are taking place to finalize aspects of the master plan and streamlining the programmatic and schematic phases of the project. Mr. Speaker, it is really therefore not fair to say that delays have been experienced in the project as work is ongoing. The plan reflects some 40 4- to 5-room villas, and this will be done on the phased implementation and the 200-room Black Sands Hotel. The developer PACE has indicated that it should be built over a 24 to 30-month period.
The Tourism Minister further outlined that the Montwin Peters Hope project is expected to boost SVG's room capacity and took the opportunity to tell investors that SVG is open for business.
This was indeed evident when we opened the Argyle International Airport in February this year. It was again evident for the carnival demand as we celebrated 40 years of Vinci Mass in June, July. We were challenged with the 1,000 or so sports persons that came into our shows in August this year as we hosted various sporting events. And we may very well be challenged again from October to January, October this year to January next year, as we have chartered and scheduled flights coming to St. Vincent and the Grenadines. So, Mr. Speaker, I'll be happy for this facility to be completed in the shortest possible time. Of course, as we all observe the building requirements and the standards established. Mr. Speaker, again, I take the opportunity to invite local investors as well as those beyond our shores. St. Vincent and the Grenadines, we are open for business.
Minister of Housing, Informal Settlements, Lands and Surveyors Montgomery Daniel told Parliament on Thursday that his government will continue to make lands available to the people of SVG, thus creating an opportunity to improve their lives. Responding to a question in Parliament on the availability of lands, particularly on Beckway, Minister Daniel stated that over the years the government has made many lots of lands available to the people on Beckway at an affordable price.
So, Mr. Speaker, just over 300 lots or so has been made available to individuals in Beckway over the last 17 years. 7 years. Over the last 7 years. That is from 2010 to 2017. And what is interesting, Mr. Speaker, is that the lands would have ranged from prices from 10 cents per square foot to as much as 50 cents per square foot, 2,050 cents per square foot. So that, Mr. Speaker,
cheaper than a cannery.
This is information as it relates to lands that would have been made available to locals in Bekwai.
Minister Daniel took the opportunity to speak on work which his ministry will be engaged in, as well as highlight areas where lands are still available on Bekwai.
Our lands in Hamilton, Happy Hill, Unionville, Camille, and Jeliso. Lands are available in all of these areas. At the moment, Mr. Speaker, government surveyors are presently in Canawan, and the work they're doing there, they should be completing that work by the middle of this month, and then we'll be going over into Bekwai to continue to some surveying work there, particularly in the area of Jeliso. This government, through its pro-poor policy, will continue to make Crown lands available for sale to nationals of this country and to ensure a better way of life, thus uplifting families to higher heights.
The Housing and Lands Minister also highlighted the difference between lands sold by the national properties at market value and those sold by the central government.
He's making his reference really to lands sold by national properties at market value. Yes, national properties, Mr. Speaker, has lands, they own lands in Bekwai, and would have invested significant sums in making these lots available. They had to do tremendous surveying, construction of roads, running underground utilities, and even advertising these lands for sale. So these lands are much more expensive than the lands made available by central government.
Highlighting that the Caribbean's rich and underexplored marine diversity has potential for the discovery of resources, Minister of Fisheries Saboto Caesar said SVG is being assisted in creating thriving industries based on its marine biodiversity. In his response to a question posed by opposition Senator Dr. Julian Ferdinand on the progress of a program led by the Center for Food Security and Entrepreneurship at the UWI Cave Hill campus, Minister Caesar said the initiative, which seeks to assist the development of a new economic sector based on marine diversity, is still in its early stage of development.
The office in the Ministry of Agriculture, we were in direct contact with Professor Ogaro to get the answers for this question, because he's the man basically in charge. Development. And the paper which he drafted has been developed into a program awaiting financing from the private sector through a channel organized by the University of the West Indies. Project, he noted that a team of 5 consultants have been contracted to work on the development of the program. The draft document is expected to be completed in the next 2 weeks, and St. Vincent and the Grenadines will be privy to a copy. And it is something that I think we have to continue the discussion with Professor Ogaro, because I think we can assist him in getting some funds from some places that we are working with.
Pointing out that the implementation of the program will commence in May 2018, Minister Caesar said it is time enough that the issue be made a national topic of discussion.
It was noted that St. Vincent and the Grenadines has a unique advantage with the Grenadine Islands and the relatively large EEZ compared to other Caribbean countries. So because of our large EEZ, yes, we have been able to attract persons from the private sector in the United States to come to us, because not only the territorial waters that they're dealing with, they're going even beyond the territorial waters.
The government minister further pointed out that there are a number of training, employment and investment opportunities which exist through the initiative.
The document indicates training for 45 Vincentians in all aspects: marine biology, the development of drugs, testing and other areas to create employment. The opportunity is great. For example, the potential benefits from pharmaceuticals estimated as high as US $70 million per annum. So I'm happy that the question was raised. It is also a very topical issue, and it is something that we should look forward to hearing a lot more about in the not too distant future.
Responding to a question posed by opposition Senator Marcia Banwell in Parliament on Thursday with regards to cases brought against the state through the Attorney General's Chamber, the resolution of these cases and awards paid, Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonsalves gave some clarity to claims of the belief that no one can win a legal case against the government. The Prime Minister said there are cases that are won against the government, while there will be others that are lost.
Were brought against the state through the AG's chambers in the last 5 years. 55, starting from the year 2011. That's 54 High Court cases and 1 magisterial. 19B, how many of these cases were resolved against the state and the value of the awards? 13 of the matters were resolved in the following ways. 4 were withdrawn or discontinued. 2 were settled by consent. 1 was struck out. 3 were determined in favor of the state. 3 were determined against the state. The value of the awards are $104,681.75. This is not a matter of the court is in the back pocket of the government. It's a fundamental above any of the dollars and cents issues. That's the most fundamental issue which arises from the answer.
PM Gonsalves outlined that some $104,681.75 were paid to citizens through resolved cases brought against the government.
Made within the past 5 years, but including matters resolved before the 5-year period started. The amount paid is $1.674 million, because the questions asked only in relation to the cases which were started in the last 5 years. But payments were made in the last 5 years, more than the $104,681. But they related to cases which were not started in the last 5 years, which started earlier, might have been resolved in the last 5 years, or awards given before the 5 years. But
in other news, joint figures from the SVG Police Force and the Gender Affairs Division showed that an average of 100 domestic violence cases were reported between 2014 to 2016. And according to the minister responsible for gender affairs, Frederick Stevenson, his ministry continues to provide support for victims of domestic violence.
Of those reported cases, the division provides victim support group programs to over 75% of those cases reported. The support groups nationally provides the following range of services over a minimum of 3 months and a maximum of 1 year. These services include social protection in cash and in-kind financial assistance for clients and their children, counseling, education on domestic violence legislation, housing renovation and or referral for housing to the Ministry of Housing, skills training and entrepreneurship development, and last year, and over the period of now, we have had over 60 young women who graduated from several skills training programs.
Responding to a question posed in Parliament by Opposition Senator Marcia Banwell on the availability of crisis centers for battered women, Minister Stevenson said currently there is one such center here in SVG.
Has the capacity to house 7 families at a given time and provides both residential and non-residential support services to clients. The domestic violence matter is reported to the police or to the division. The intake and assessment process is undertaken to determine the method of treatment for the potential client. Where temporary housing assistance is required during assessment, where no other place of safety from relatives and or friends are cited, the division recommends placement at the center for a minimum of 24 hours to a maximum of 3 months. During this time, interventions for protection orders and investigation by the police force are sought after. While at the center, counseling, social protection, and education on domestic violence legislations are provided pending the disposition of the matter. This therefore determines the additional support and interventions that can be provided once assessment lead to effective treatment planning for the client and her children.
Minister Stevenson added that while work are being done to assist victims, measures are being put in place to assist perpetrators of acts of domestic violence.
When the perpetrator is taken to Her Majesty's prison, the inmate is screened for inclusion on the Gender Affairs Prison Rehabilitation Program, where assessment, support, treatment, and prospects for reintegration are explored. As a preventative measure, the Gender Affairs Division also engages in awareness initiatives in schools, communities, and employment institutions to sensitize the participants on domestic violence matters. Additionally, in the communities where the acts of domestic violence were highest per annum, surveys and consultations on causes and dynamics of domestic violence are explored. Since the year 2014, the division has provided these awareness initiatives to a minimum of 6,000 persons nationally.
Former candidate for the opposition New Democratic Party in the West St. George constituency, Dr. Jules Ferdinand, has called for action by party supporters to ensure a win for the newly selected candidate, K. Bacchus Baptiste, at the next general election. Dr. Ferdinand, who was speaking at a town hall meeting on Thursday night at the Daphne Community Center, described Baptiste as a kind-hearted person who is committed to success. Dr. Ferdinand called on those in her camp to ensure that she achieves victory at the polls.
You have committed and you have joined part of K's action team to bring home West St. George. We're bringing it home. We're bringing it home. But it cannot be wishful thinking, and it cannot be just words. Action is what we need. Some of you here and some of you who are listening will have to commit to taking action. We need to make sure that we have strong, committed people as inside agents next election. Persons who will not be hoodwinked.
Dr. Ferdinand, however, expressed concern with whom he refers to as deceptive persons trying to infiltrate and cause discord in the NDP West St. George camp.
I have already been informed that there was a meeting of the ULP candidate in West St. George earlier this week, where he called a meeting of his people. And one of our major inside agents was in that meeting. And I know that that person was not a spy for Western George, because we don't do business that way. So we have to be very careful next time around, and as you rightly say, we have to start the process now.
The newly selected NDP's candidate for Western George, Kay Bacchus-Baptiste, said her main objective is to bring back hope to the people of the constituency.
I come to set the captives free, and with the help of God I will do it. And together we will make that change. We will bring back St. Vincent to the Grenadines, to a place where we were loving neighbors, where we will help one another, where we would live for the sake of others. St. Vincent is too selfish right now. Bare selfishness. All those who hear on the radio stations like the Star FM and so forth, what do you think have them there? Love of country? They wake up every morning paid by our taxpayers' money and go onto the airwaves, and all you hear is vilifying people, vilifying people. You think God like that? No. Do you think that can ever end the pain and the suffering in St. Vincent?
Bacchus-Baptiste told the audience she also has a burning passion to champion the needs of the youth.
I believe in youthfulness. See me? I can kick. John said I used to dance. Don't dare me, you know. I don't think no young girl could still lift the foot higher than me or do a split better than me. Ask them. I believe in the youth. Okay? And if we don't take back our country now, the urgency of now, they will have no future. So we're not doing it for ourselves. I am not in this for myself, people. Believe you me. God has blessed me. I have a comfortable practice. I've reached a stage where I could just go home, sit down, and relax. But I cannot do that. I have a burning passion to save my country. Amen. That is what is motivating me. So, how do we do that? How do we take back St. Vincent? It is not going to be easy, and there is no magic bullet, and it would not be sudden, but we have to start now. We have to start with the I. We have to start with me. We have to start with the individual.